So, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Welcome My Pep Talk. Today, for the first time, we're doing a little bit of a different format, and I have quite a special guest on. My close friend and old training partner, I guess I could say a little bit, Carter McCormick, who is probably one of the coolest up and coming fitness influencers that I've ever met. You are probably one of the most humble people that I've also ever met, which I find very refreshing in an industry that is very much promoting like just aggrandization of like personalities and whatnot. You are really true to yourself, and I think that's amazing. So Carter, thank you for joining me on the show today. And I wanted to start off by asking a little bit of a background so that people know who you are, what your deal is, and how you've kind of how you've become a pretty upcoming figure in the fitness industry.
All right, so my name is Carter McCormick. As stated before, that's pretty obvious at this point. I'm from a very small town in northern Ontario where the winters become like minus 40. Like this morning, I woke up, frost on the car and all.
Already.
I was pretty upset. I'm not gonna lie. I was yelling, and, like not even yelling at anybody. I'm just yelling, like just to yell. But so what really got me into working out was around COVID is when I started. Like right when lockdown started, I started with like adjustable dumbbells in my basement. And really like a main driving factor of that was sort of like I was kind of working out with a chip on my shoulder a little bit just because I was picked on a little bit in high school. And there was one like kind of like canon moment. Everybody has that one moment in their life when they start working out. They're like, fuck that person. I'm gonna prove them wrong type of thing. So this was grade 9 drama class. I didn't start working out until 4 years later. But how it goes is I'm standing there, we're practicing our lines. I'm minding my own business. He looks at me, he goes, Carter, dead in the eye. I look at him, I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're fat. I was
Bro.
shocked. I was
Lost for
speechless.
words.
Like I had nothing else. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't even have a comeback for that. Like, what
Yeah.
do I say? I just went, okay, okay. And like ever since then, I kind of just like I wasn't really kind of paying attention to what I was eating. I was eating like Pop Tarts, croutons, and protein shakes for lunch.
Well
Weird.
balanced diet, man.
I got my carbs and my protein. That's all I need.
Absolutely, bro.
And then after that, when COVID started, I started getting into it a little bit more because that's all I could do was work out, right? Because all I
Yeah.
had was the dumbbells and my Xbox. So it'd be like workout, play
Play around a
Xbox.
COD, yeah.
Yeah. Rinse and repeat. Wake up at 2 in
Absolutely.
the afternoon. Rinse and repeat, like, and
Beautiful.
then eventually gym started opening back up. I started taking it a little more seriously. And then around 2021 or like late 2021, I started
Mhm.
taking my diet really seriously. And then I also started posting on social media. And I started off with I had like a progress page
Yeah.
like dedicated just to working out, but I never used my Instagram to really acknowledge the fact that I did exercise.
Mhm.
And there was a guy named Lane Fit. This was like really why I started posting. He said, if fitness is a huge part of your life, you should not be afraid to post it. And
Yeah.
I said, yeah, honestly. And he's like, post it on your main Instagram if it's a part of your life. And I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Posted it one day. It was like so nerve-wracking just because I am from a small
Yeah.
town. So
Of
word
course. Yeah.
travels super fast, and
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
started posting on TikTok. I had a bunch of problems like with growing on TikTok at the beginning, just like anybody else would, right?
Of course. Yeah.
But eventually it just kind of started to snowball around June of last year when which is also when I started struggling even more with
Mhm.
like actual growth on social media, which is ironic because I went through a process where I went through like 6 TikTok accounts in like a 4
Mhm.
month span. I would hit like 30 or 40K, get banned, 30 or 40K, get banned, 30 or 40K, get banned. And then meanwhile, my TikTok or my Instagram went from 2,000 to 60,000 that summer. It was like
Yeah.
life-changing summer. It was fucking
Unreal.
phenomenal.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I skipped a few things like mental struggle, but I can touch on that a
Yeah.
little bit later.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then eventually I was posting throughout the year this year. Nothing really went wrong. and then I got banned on TikTok again in June.
The best of
And
luck, bro.
then this ban was like
Yeah.
the thing that changed it probably the most. I went
Mhm.
from 700 followers on this new TikTok account to what am I at now? Like 138K
That's
since
insane, brother.
June.
That's
Yeah.
insane,
So,
brother. That's nuts.
and I
Okay, well, listen, that this isn't exactly the topic of focus for this episode today, but since you did brought it up, I'm genuinely curious. Like, there's obviously a strategy that you've adopted, or maybe not. Maybe it's literally just like the algorithm loves your kind of content. But for the majority of people that have ever tried to start something on social media pages, it's really hard to get like a following as fast as you have, as many times as you have. Was there any like specific way that you targeted it, or was it just like you were just being your authentic self, just posting the shit that you wanted, and other people like obviously seem to like reciprocate and like resonate with it?
So a lot of it is just kind of staying true to yourself, posting what you do want to post. And
Yeah.
another part of it is consistency. When I went through that like initial growth period on my TikTok, I was posting 10 times a day.
Really? Holy.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 times a day. As hard as it seems, it's
Yeah.
even just I would do like my posing videos and
Mm-hmm.
then I would also just reply to random comments that don't even really need like an in-depth explanation.
But you would go
Like,
into it, yeah.
do you do cardio? I would
Yeah.
answer with video, right? Because what
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
does is it creates a connection with the audience. It feels like it's not just you're telling them yes,
Yeah, yeah.
you're having a conversation with them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that allows for the audience to kind of like build a connection with you and sort of like a friendship almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's just like over the internet. They're commenting, I'm replying, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's just what I found helped me the most in creating more of a community within my following because I had a following for a while. I just didn't have that community built and
Mm-hmm.
sort of like that like cult, I guess you could say, right?
Well, actually, but that's a very good point that you bring up, and kind of something that I actually want to like delve into a little bit, because like one thing that I've noticed from like having followed you as well for a good little while right now is I feel like you're constantly like talking to your fans. Like like most of your posts are in response to somebody else's question or comment or whatever, and like I really feel like you formed kind of a connection that I've never really seen with an audience. Was that something that was planned, or like did you just kind of wing it, and just start having people like kind of attracted to that energy?
No, so basically like I heard that replying to comments can help the algorithm. And I
Yeah,
also just like I always would reply to comments just because being able to respond to like the stupid comments
yeah,
is just so funny to me. Like it creates entertainment in my life that I lack because I live in a small town doing nothing
for
all the
sure.
time, right? But like the
For
main
sure.
thing is like I genuinely like I find a lot of the guys that follow me they're hilarious. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'll have DM conversations with them and it's like almost mind numbing.
yeah. You
Some of
feel
the
a
shit
couple
I get
brain
sent is
cells just fire
hilarious.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
I
sure,
feel
for
them
sure.
dissipate, right?
I love it. I love it. Well, okay, actually, so on that note as well about the small town, because that's something that I find really interesting. I didn't actually know like the extent of kind of how isolated you were in your town, and I obviously like you touched on it a little bit before. That's something that can be really hard to try something new in, and I feel like you have to be very vulnerable to even kind of explore something like this. Was that like how did you tackle that? How like what was your process of really like trusting that you can be put yourself out there and then deal with the feedback or the repercussions from it?
So growing up, I was always more of a extrovert, not afraid to
Okay.
talk to people, not afraid to kind of put myself out there, allow people to see every side of me possible.
Yeah.
And but like this one was probably like one of the most difficult things. I was like, holy shit, like what are people gonna think of me? What are people gonna think of me? And then I kind of had that like a self-realization while I was looking at the picture I was about to post. I was like, fuck what they think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do this. This has been like a dream of mine to be like
Yeah.
fitness creator for the longest time since I started working out. Like I always
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
wanted to be like with the big guys, right? I'd be
Of
like, oh
course.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to be one of those guys. I want to be that guy that people will look to for help. Like, because I had to do all the research myself, right? And that helped me a lot to become like the creator I am today.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
it was sort of just like a leap that I had to take. I was like, nobody's gonna do it for me. And I don't want to be left in the future thinking, what if I did it?
Hmm.
Like if
That's
it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, dude, that's incredibly inspiring too, because like that's the I feel like the biggest problem for a lot of people is that first step. And it's exactly that, man. Like you'll never know until you try. And you have to like I feel like it's exactly that. You have to just like understand that like this is your path and nobody else's, right? Like you're going to be the one at the end of the day to judge and look back on all the experiences that you're trying to have. And man, that's like the worst thing in the world if you're sitting on your deathbed there saying, like you said, what if? Yeah.
Yeah, like, or I
No.
wish. I
Or
wish
I
I
would.
could.
That's even worse.
What
Absolutely.
when
So
it's all said and done, I want to be able to say, I did that.
yeah, 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 for
I
sure.
did all this crazy shit.
Would you consider that the why behind what you're doing?
For posting, just being able to tell me that I tell myself that I did it, I tried
Yeah.
it. And the other why is genuinely just being able to spread a message that comes to mental health. That has been something I've been trying to kind of touch on a lot more recently,
Hmm.
especially with the winter months approaching. I know it's a very hard time for a lot of people, is like seasonal depression, all that, but
Of
it's
course, yeah.
nothing to just like kind of gloss over. It is still very serious. I struggled with sort of depression myself at some
Hmm.
points in my life, and honestly, I just want to be kind of like able to tell them that it's not always going to be bad. You
Yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
to have those like lows in order to have like truly appreciate the highs in your life, right?
Of
Like rather
course,
than
absolutely.
just low. It's never always just gonna be low, 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 low. There's gonna be lows. Obviously, it's not. Life isn't perfect. Life is a
Of course.
bitch
Yeah.
because once you start winning, you lose again, and then
Of
it's just
course,
a
of
vicious
course.
cycle back and forth. It just depends on how you approach it and how you get back up and keep fighting, right? And
Absolutely.
that's just sort of a message that I want to kind of emanate to my audience. I've been trying to do that a lot more recently, allowing myself to be more vulnerable with my content, like talking about my mental struggles in the past.
Yeah, yeah, dude, and I like that. That is amazing. It's I think one of the best things that has been happening like lately in the fitness industry is that people are actually opening up a little bit more. Like it's becoming a little bit more commonplace. And I feel like even from the conversations we've had in the past, like there's such a dichotomy to you. Like you're such a meme when you want to be, but there's so much depth behind a lot of the messages that you're trying to say that is like it's really awesome that there is that kind of substance that you can try and pass on to a lot of people. Because I think one of the other things, one of the negative sides is like there's a lot of stereotypes that are kind of enforced still in the fitness industry, and I really think that you're trying to break those, right? Like I feel like
Yeah,
you're really trying to show people that it's okay to actually be vulnerable.
because it's all like the stereotype in the fitness industry is like, oh, douchey meathead. They don't know anything.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for
Pretty much what
sure.
it is.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand that for sure. But like, so if you're okay with delving a little bit into like the struggles that you had in the past, was there anything in particular that just kind of you hyper focused on, or was it just a feeling of like inadequacy or like not being enough, or what was it really that kind of got you feeling the way that you did, and how have you tackled like overcoming it then, and like how are you reapproaching it now?
Yeah, so it first started like when it was an issue. It was 3 years ago, like maybe 3 years and a month, like
Okay.
around this time, like exactly. And what had happened was just like there was a lot of change going on in my life and I was afraid of it. I think that
Hmm.
might be a driving factor of it. And I didn't know how to manage it. I was terrified of the future. I was terrified that I wouldn't amount to anything. And I felt like I was just going to go in a downward spiral and not be able to get out of it, right?
Right, right, of course. Yeah, man, that is like terrifying too. But on that, in that case, is there something that you're doing differently this year, or do you feel like you're just like more equipped now to actually handle that like change or that struggle or anything like that?
Yeah, so this year's probably been the year where I've seen the most changes, but like with like relationships or even career wise, anything
Hmm.
like that. Like I feel like I was able to learn a lot about myself and how I deal with issues.
Hmm.
And a lot of it would be relying on other people around me, like fully relying on them. Like I would lose all independence
Okay.
when I was going through that time and kind of allowing myself to kind of separate myself from people for and being able to kind of gain like my own sort of balance with being alone and being with
Mhm.
people because I love both just as much now. I
Yeah,
could never be alone when I was going through that time because I was just a mess. I
of
relied on other
course.
people too heavily.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's a big problem too because you don't you there isn't going to be a time where you're always with people. You
of
can't.
course. Yeah,
That's impossible. And I
yeah,
would be
yeah,
terrified to go home. I wouldn't want to
yeah.
go home and be like, "Oh my God, like I don't know what's gonna happen." Like, and
Of
then just
course. Yeah.
anxiety would ramp up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I honestly feel like the fear of like isolation, the fear of loneliness is like huge, man. Especially I feel like it's almost kind of a what's called like exacerbated the fact that you're in a small town like with not that many people, let's say, if that's the case. But yeah, like I is that something that you've also kind of felt um die down a little bit now that you've built an audience? Because I feel like it's like almost like what you said before, you're kind of just creating a big group of like-minded people, like a lot of friends that you can just, reach out all over the world at this point now.
Yeah, so like with like this whole small town thing, I'm definitely talked about.
Yeah.
Like recently or today even I went to my old high school because
Okay.
my basketball coach reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, can you come in and talk to the guys about like nutrition and like working out and stuff?" And
That's awesome, man.
I was like, "Sure." And then
Absolutely.
like a local news host recently reached out. She actually texted my mom. She was like, "Do you think Carter would be interested in an interview?"
That's fantastic, man. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's
it's just like it's really like crazy stuff because when I threw up that Instagram post on my first
yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like oh, let's see what happens. I don't expect much. And it's
Yeah.
just like I've been just like crazy stuff has been happening the last couple of months and it's
Yeah.
just like a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a bit scary, but at the same time,
For sure.
I've learned to be kind of accepting of change and allow it
Yeah.
to kind of like mold me into a better person for the future.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a like beautiful way to look at change, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people struggle with because I definitely feel like one of the biggest fears of like of many people is the fact that they don't know what's going to happen on the other side. Like they don't know what their outcome is, and like what would you say as someone that's already gotten, let's say, to that other side? Like what would you say to someone that is just trying to get started in that case?
I would say the only thing that you can really do there's only so much that you can predict. There's only so much that you can analyze. Just let what's meant to be, right?
Hmm.
So things are going to happen. You may not accept it in the moment, but
Yeah.
those are the things that are going to help you develop into a strong, independent individual, whether it be the next day, the next week, next month, next year. Like,
Hmm.
no
Hmm.
matter what, these things are going to help you, and you're going to be able to learn either more about the world or more about yourself and be able to go off of that for the
Yeah,
future.
yeah. That's beautiful, bro. That's poetic.
I could
I
be
love
poetic as shit.
I love it, man. Um, so okay, one other thing that I really wanted to ask is like obviously the bigger that you've gotten, I feel like I at least I'm assuming that your content creation and like this side of your life has kind of become more and more demanding. Has it become more challenging to balance it with like anything else that's going on in your life? Like I know you said right now that you're taking a little like a gap from school, but when you were still in school, like how did you find that balance so you could actually really like live life without being completely consumed by one aspect?
Honestly, I'm still doing school right now. I'm
Yeah.
all online. So
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. And I'm about to start a job on the 30th, like
No
full-time
way.
job, big boy
Shoot,
job.
okay.
And it's gonna be difficult, but I don't think it's anything I can't handle.
For
Obviously,
sure.
I'm gonna have to kind of write out a schedule so I don't lose my mind. I'm gonna set
Hmm.
aside an hour a day for school, hour a day for content, and an
Right,
hour a
right,
day
right.
leisure time because I do train in the mornings, so my mornings start super early. Then I'm gonna go to
Right.
work, content, homework,
Okay.
and boom.
And then schedule it
Honestly,
like that, yeah.
like I'm not too stressed about my grades.
Okay.
I'm confident I'm going to get C's get degrees. Let's say that C's get degrees, and I'm
D's can
content with
also
that.
get degrees, bro.
B's also get degrees. It just doesn't look as cool.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's what we're aiming for. We're just
For
passing.
sure.
We're
For
passing.
sure. For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So is this almost a bit of like a pivoting moment in your life too? Like, do you think that you're gonna pursue your career in like fitness as your main priority?
I think so. I think just with the week ahead of me,
Yeah.
that's a huge jump, especially with I never thought I would do something like that. I was never like the big risk taker, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
for
was
sure.
always play it safe. We need a plan, that type of thing. And
Yeah.
then like I was like, I'm not going to school. Book the flights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, right.
And it's just like massive jump. And I feel like if I do this, it will allow me to open even more avenues to potentially turn it into a career one day.
That's amazing. Yeah. For those that weren't involved in the conversation before, we're talking about Carter's flights to Houston for a week. What are you hoping to come back from that trip like having gained? Just the connections, or is there something that you're kind of going to put yourself out there like for an impact?
I really want to work out at that gym. Can't lie. Can't lie. I'm also really excited for Raising Cane's and In-N-Out.
Okay. Oh, dude, In and Out,
I
you've
love
got to
food.
let me know
I
how that
love
is.
food. Yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I'm gonna post some videos.
Oh,
Um, but I'm really hoping to be able to learn a lot from
okay.
people that have been in the industry longer than me, people
Right.
that kind of work in the back end of the industry, like managers and stuff,
Of
just so
course.
I
Yeah.
can really get come back with something gained
Hmm.
rather than just connections. I want to be able to kind of use some of these things in my own path and be able to convert it into whatever my future may hold.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's really cool. Nice, nice, nice. I think one of the biggest things that I've kind of even from this conversation picked up is that you're really not afraid of or it's the way that you frame challenge and change is really good. And I feel like that's something that I really hope that people can take away from this conversation, because I feel like when you can start reframing something that's scary or something that's new or challenging as just another opportunity for growth and something to be learned, like, man, the door is open. Like your life just becomes an endless growth, like opportunity for growth. um yeah, I don't know if you'd agree with that, but I feel like the opportunity is there for anybody.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it comes down to perspective. It just depends on how you view your situation that you're in and
For
how
sure.
we're perceiving what can come of it.
For sure, for sure. And I feel like
That-
another big thing is like how you view yourself too, right? Because I like, okay, actually, I wanted to ask you this just um, for someone else that I feel like kind of shares the same perspective. But uh, do you feel like do you feel like you notice that things work out more frequently when you've almost like manifested or accepted that you can handle what life is throwing at you?
Yeah, 100%. I found when I started kind of like just saying, putting things into existence, like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, this is
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
happen, and like just like getting that positive energy back. You
Right,
put
right,
it, you
right.
get out what you put in, right?
Yeah,
You
I
put
man,
that
I
positive
preach it
energy in,
exactly.
you get that positive energy back. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
something I've been kind of like finding recently.
Hmm.
And I fucking love it. It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweet. You know, you have to look at it, you have to look at life from a glass half full perspective rather than
Yeah.
half empty, right?
Always, man, always, always. And I feel like that also like it translates and precipitates down to like the people around you too. Like the more positive energy you give out, like the more positive people want to surround themselves or want to be surrounded by you. So then I feel like that just helps like re-emphasize like the positivity and the growth and everything.
Yeah, like I found it was a lot easier to kind of have that view on life when I started surrounding myself with like guys like you, Christian, Matt, people like that, Reese, even like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when I started talking to you guys more, I found I was able to kind of shift my mindset, and it's just been like a complete 360 sense because I was
Yeah, yeah,
always more of a negative person. I'd be like, oh, screw this, screw that, I hate
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm like, that sucks, but oh well.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's the man, it's the little things, man. It's that
Mhm.
but, like, oh, that's shitty that happened, but okay, maybe this now leads me to like a whole new opportunity that I can
Exactly.
pursue that maybe even had a better return than the first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like it's about the shift in perspective, and I feel like you are a fucking incredible example of that, just because the more that you've grown, I feel like the more in touch and the more humble that you've become with all of your fans. And I genuinely feel like everybody, like all of your content is just about like teaching and trying to like empower people to also follow in your footsteps, which is
Yeah,
really cool.
like
It's really awesome.
even even some stuff is just like even if I can make somebody smile with a video,
Yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah, yeah.
game changing for me, because like it's
Absolutely.
never really a laugh when you're on when you're like scrolling through social media. It's just like a strong force of air coming out of your nose. If I can bring one of those to somebody,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm totally
yeah,
content.
yeah. I love that, bro. Well, okay. Unfortunately, we are running out of time before Zoom fucking kicks us off this platform. So I think we're gonna have to wrap it up, unfortunately. But Cart, this is a lot of fun, man. This is a really good
Yeah,
conversation.
this is
There's
awesome.
so much more that I really wanted to like dive into. So definitely have to plan to make this happen again, maybe after your trip or something like that, where we can really dive into the nitty gritty of what you got from the trip and how you've
Yeah.
blown up even further. So thank you, brother. I
Remember,
appreciate.
use code CART at checkout for Retaliation Project and Alpha Line. Support your boy, save some money, all that nice stuff.
Absolutely. I will link all your shit in the description. Don't you worry, man.
Oh,
We're gonna
my
send everybody your
boy.
way. All right.
All
Thank you,
right.
brother, again.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, brother. Peace.
Peace.